there is an enormous, very, very powerful machine out there that notes immediately when someone takes anti-Israel positions and moves out on the attack. I'll give you a very concrete example. I had mentioned the Mearsheimer-Walt study once in a seminar at one of the universities where I teach, and within 48 hours I had an email from Alan Dershowitz.
Who is he?
Alan Dershowitz is a Harvard professor who protects the Jewish lobby in America like an attack dog. I had an email from him, and the email essentially said he didn't think I was doing justice to the American-Israeli relationship, to Israel's existence in the world, etc., by citing the Walt Mearsheimer report because it was so heavily flawed, mistaken, and so forth. And he even attached his own attack on the Walt Mearsheimer report and advised me to use it as counterbalance in my seminar. Well, I wasn't even using the report in my seminar. I simply had mentioned it as evidence of some people's ire, if you will, with the lack of discussion, the lack of debate on these issues in America. And within 48 hours, I had one of the attack dogs for the Jewish lobby coming after me.
But how could he know this?
There are people all over America, on campuses all across America, who are set up to do just what he did, to protect the interest of Jewish Americans and particularly the interest of Israel in America. In that sense, the Jewish lobby is probably more organized and more able to move swiftly against any potential threat than any other lobby.
I was invited this autumn to speak at an organization called 2020, and we agreed on my subject, U.S. foreign policy and the Middle East and the Israel lobby, because this was a big issue in the newspapers at the time. And I heard nothing until about a week before my talk. I was informed by her secretary, the president of this organization's secretary, that we would be meeting at the Polish consulate, which is the usual place apparently where they met. And then the next week, 2 hours before I was supposed to talk, I had a telephone call from the organization's leader, terribly upset, saying the Polish consul general had cancelled the talk there at the consulate because of telephone calls he had received from the American Jewish Committee and the Anti-Defamation League. Well, the consul's position I can understand is very difficult. Poland in this country, if you say to someone, Poland, the thought they have is anti-Semitism immediately. So Poland has a problem of overcoming this image here. The new Polish government, which is not a very attractive one, has nonetheless been working very hard to try to build good relations with Washington, to be friendly with Israel, to show that it's a good guy, and so on these subjects. And now suddenly someone comes along and says to the Polish consul general in New York, you know, Tony Judt is a very controversial character, he's anti-Israel, his remarks some people think are anti-Semitic, are you sure you want to have him? Bad for your image, bad for your diplomacy. But why would the Poles stand up heroically for my right to speak? They have bigger concerns, so I don't blame them.
The lobby, what it's doing is it's going after people in a really hard-hitting way for the purposes of shutting us down and also for the purposes of sending a message to other people that if you follow in the footsteps of Jimmy Carter or you follow in the footsteps of Tony Judt or you follow in the footsteps of John Mearsheimer and Steve Walt, you will pay a serious price for your transgressions. Right? So that's a deterrence model. They're trying to deter other people from doing what we did.